I'm good to go.
Good to go, man. Well, right on. Jared, thanks for coming on, dude. I'm excited. I can't wait, actually.
Yeah, this is definitely exciting. I am definitely a little nervous because this is some deep stuff, and I just finished my outline like 20 minutes ago. But
Hey.
let's roll.
I love it because you're one of the most prepared guests. Like, not a lot of people come with an outline, so I'm excited to see where it goes. And this has been 2 months in the making almost. We talked about it for a while.
That's right. You've been dropping seeds on me, and I'm like, I don't think I can do this, but I have a passion that's similar to yours in a different area, and I listened to your podcast, and you inspired me. So
I
happy to be
appreciate
here,
it, man. It's all ships rise together. So but happy to have you on. I'm excited to go into what we're talking about today. It is going to get a little deep. So I do want to ask you how you got interested in all the different philosophies that we're going to talk about, and that kind of, I guess, picture starting there. Like, how did you get interested in philosophy and exploring different religions and just understanding what they believe?
Yeah, we're definitely going to go into that. So I really wanted to understand why people go on their knees, why people live the way that they live, and to such a great extent, like dedicate themselves, wear different clothing, get on their knees and pray 5 times a day, have different gods they worship, read different texts, and really dedicate themselves to different things.
Yeah.
Because life's short, and you got to make the most of it. You got to get after it, right?
You got to get after it. You got to do it. I love it.
Yeah. So I did have some things I wanted to go into. If you're ready for this,
let's go.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm excited.
Okay. So an area that I think really ties us all together, I was thinking, okay, there's different religions out there, and what really is one of the core aspects of life? And I think a great way that has been talked about in the past is through Plato, the philosopher, and C.S. Lewis.
Yeah.
So Plato, he created this thing called the tripartite soul. And these are some words that are really hard to say. So
he was Greek, right? Plato was a Greek.
Yeah, he's like Greek or something like that. Yeah, I think he's Greek.
Yeah, one of those guys.
And he had 3 parts. So he had logistikon, which means the mind, thumoides, which is the chest, and epithumetikan, which is the belly. I don't even know how to say it. That's like somewhat how you say it.
You did better than I would. So that's awesome. So we have the mind, the chest, and
the belly.
The belly. Okay.
Yeah. And I think people are going to resonate with this really well because it's super basic.
Yeah.
Like the mind, you think with it, you rationalize. The belly, you have appetites, you eat things, you have desires, natural desires for things.
Yeah.
Like, I want to, I'm really hungry, I need to get food, or I really need to get some entertainment right now. I'm going to scroll through TikTok.
Yeah. You'll spend hours on TikTok.
Yeah. And other people too, they have greed. There's vices, greed, drugs, sex, whatever. It can be multiple things. And the chest is really the part that is highlighted by C.S. Lewis. And I think it's an interesting part where I'd like to go and talk about.
Yeah. I'd love it.
Yeah.
'Cause I think that's what we've kind of discussed a little bit at work, is how these different religions fill their chest almost, and take in, stuff into their heart and build their spirit almost. Because like you said, we've talked about this before, a lot of people just feed the mind and they feed the stomach. Which, if you're just feeding into all your desires, like it's gonna be an interesting life. Like, I don't know, without discipline, I think it's tough. So.
Yeah, you can have an empty life. You can turn into this robot who's just trying to go through the motions. Maybe you're super career oriented and you just don't really feel like you have that love and passion in life.
Yeah.
We'll talk about passion and really trying to get after it. What are the things we're going to be passionate about? So what I want to say about this is that with these 3 pieces, C.S. Lewis, like I said, focus on the chest and how people are living without a chest. He says men without chests. That's exactly how he's phrased it. And he goes into different areas of, hey, like people are emotionally not there, or they're not mature, or they don't have things that are really altruistic about, so things that they really are going to suffer for. And I think what really translates into this is the heart and passion. And what passion means to a lot of people is like, hey, like, I really love something and I'm going to do everything I can to get it.
That's true. I do say like I have a passion for running.
Yeah.
But I've learned, do you know who Cameron Haynes is?
Oh, it sounds so familiar.
I talk about him all the time, but he's one of my favorite ultramarathon guys.
Yeah.
He's known to be a bow hunter. And I was reading a book that he just put out. It's called Undeniable. In that book, he talks about passion specifically and how passion requires sacrifice, because without sacrifice, like, you must not be passionate about it. It must just be a desire. And so he's like, if you are passionate about something, like he gave the example of bow hunting. He's like, the reason he runs and does all these races is because his passion is bow hunting, and he wants to be as fit as he can when he gets in the mountains, when the season comes around. And a lot of that is sacrificing his time, his body, like he's pushing it hard. But I think that's an interesting point, is without sacrifice, passion becomes desire. And I don't know. We'll probably talk a little bit about that here, but could be something to relate at least a little bit to.
Yeah, you're actually going right where I'm going. So,
perfect.
You're on the ball.
Yeah,
you already solved. You got your chest on fire right now. You're good to go.
That's it.
So, something that's very interesting about the word passion and where it comes from. It comes from the Latin word passio, which means suffering. So it's very similar to sacrificing, suffering.
Yeah.
And what are you willing to suffer for? Are you willing to suffer? Go run for a reason. I know you've run for other people sometimes.
Yeah.
You're willing to suffer for it. You have passion for doing that.
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting to see, like, hey, what are people really willing to push themselves for? What are they really passionate about? Hey, are you going to really suffer your religion, suffer the cross like in Christianity?
Yeah.
Suffer, get rid of suffering like in Buddhism, or getting rid of your sins in Islam.
Yeah.
They also believe in sins. So there are so many different angles to this of really developing, hey, like, I'm willing to go so far with my heart to fulfill my passion.
Yeah. I think that's huge. Like, in my own experience, at least with like trying to understand suffering, at least in the religion, like in a faith instance, I think about, I served a mission for my church, and that's not suffering. I wouldn't call it suffering. There were many lessons learned. It was a hard time, but you are sacrificing 2 years to go and do the Lord's work. You're going and preaching and talk to people on the street and trying to tell them about Jesus Christ. And, at the time, like, I didn't think of it as sacrificing, but looking back, it's like, yeah, there actually was 2 years where I could have been in college, or I could have been doing a number of things, but instead I was out serving the Lord. So I think it is interesting, and I'm interested to hear what's next.
Yeah, so I wanted to talk about different levels of the heart and the passion. What makes people get after it?
Yeah,
and it's your show here. So
That's
we want to get after this, right?
Right.
And I think it's good to scale this in two different ways. One way is to look at it in the aspect of a very weak heart, and what is a good heart, and what is something that's going to allow you to go full tilt, I guess, and just go at it all the way.
Nirvana, right? Isn't that
Nirvana? Yeah, Nirvana means you diminish suffering, and you made it.
Yeah.
In Buddhism.
Oh, there we go. I knew it was something.
Yeah, so I think something really interesting to talk about in this area is I think we know what a weak heart is. A weak heart's like, hey, I don't have anything I'm really willing to suffer for, at least immensely. I'm living through my appetites. I'm just going through the motions, or I want to like be entertained. I want to have pleasure. Yeah. Just things that are animalistic. We talked about this. I think a really cool aspect, a good angle, is talking about what corrupts the heart. What corrupts your passion? Yeah,
because I was just about to ask, like, do you think if you feed the mind and the stomach too much, that just kind of leaves no room for the heart to grow, which I guess could deteriorate it? maybe there's a better way to say that, but like when you focus on other things and you're not trying to feed that, that piece where you feel those passions come to life, like, yeah, I feel like you would be empty. And we've talked about that a little bit, just like it's a hollow feeling.
Yeah, you can be doing well in life and still feel empty.
Yeah.
People say, "Hey, like I'll feel happy if I cry in a Lamborghini."
Yeah.
But would you really? You're crying and like you don't really understand the purpose of your own
Right.
your life, and maybe you don't feel like connected to other people. You don't have a drive. Maybe you just don't know what the purpose is anymore. I think another cool angle is looking at corruption. I think it does explain a little bit of how you develop things and why it's so important to develop your heart. I wanted to bring up an example, and I'm going to have to read a little bit here because
let's go.
It's tough for me to remember these things. But the book Ordinary Men, I don't know if you've read that. It's
a military book, right?
It's a military book.
Okay.
So it's about World War II. Police force in Germany, and they are ordered to kill Jewish people.
Yeah.
And some people say, "No, I can't do this. There's no way I can kill an innocent person." And these are Germans.
Yeah.
But a lot of them end up doing it. So there's the massacre of Joseph. I don't know how to say that exactly. And Major Wilhelm Trapp gave the men an unprecedented order. He said, "Hey, like I want you to shoot all these people," and it included women, children, and elderly. And he gave them the option, saying, "Hey, like I know I'm giving you guys a terrible order, and if you want to step out, you can step out." And only about 10% of them stepped out.
Really?
Yeah, it's pretty insane.
Yeah, that's pretty low.
It's pretty low.
Cow.
Yeah,
it's insane.
And I think this is an area that points at the heart.
Yeah.
If you have a really strong heart or you have those values built up, pretty easily that no, I should not be killing these innocent people.
Right.
But if you're gone, like your heart's gone, you're a man without a chest or a woman without a chest, it's like, well, this is going to help my career. My peers are looking at me.
Yeah.
I want to get paid. Like I taught these are bad people, so I'm just going to shoot them.
Yeah.
So the majority of people ended up committing massacre. And I think the highlight of corruption is you get corrupted when you don't have anything there.
Yeah.
So when you have a heart that can really pull through, you're not going to be corrupted or swayed. You already know where you stand.
Right.
And
you have your morals and your values like set up and you live by them.
That's right. That's right. And how do you develop that?
Right.
I think it's very interesting. Like when I was studying different religions, I love studying different religions. I love studying people. Like I love atheist podcasts. You just like to think how people think and understand the world.
Yeah.
Some very smart people in every aspect. Religious, non-religious, very smart people. I'm sure you've heard and listened to them as well.
Yeah. I think the Cosmic Skeptic is one of my favorite ones to listen to on that side.
Yeah, he's pretty funny.
Interesting.
Yeah,
he's
for
pretty
sure.
Interesting.
Yeah. And when you're looking at these different religions and people, everyone has different ways of developing the heart, and some are more concentrated than others. And there's not necessarily I'm biased. I'm trying not to be too biased, but
yeah, it's okay. I'm a little biased too.
What's the best way to put this? There's not one path. I'd say people have different paths where they can learn and come around and learn the things they need to learn. But there are different focuses in life where, hey, like I am definitely on the grind in this religion and I'm learning what I need to learn and I'm getting the values. Or you can be agnostic and still be like, hey, like I really understand people are good and I want to be altruistic in this sense. Yeah. And I'm a humanist. And I'm not necessarily, religious. Maybe I'm spiritual, but I don't go to church. I'm still a humanist. So you can still develop these values, but they do have different focuses. We can go on for a while on these different religions here, but I don't know how interesting it is to the audience.
I think it's interesting just like understanding because kind of what you were talking about, like it's not one path, But what I've learned from meeting people, talking to them, like other people who are not of my religion, and I'm a Christian, I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, but people who I've talked to who aren't, it's interesting because at the end of the day, there are things that we can agree upon. And there's things that, if there was an agnostic who was a humanist, like they probably have something in their mind where they say, hey, I need to serve someone. Like I need to help others out just because we're all here on this planet together and we're the human race kind of thing. And what I like about the fact that, we're having this conversation about different religions is like, it just helps me understand that, people are people and we can all relate. Like you don't have to have everything in common with someone, but at the end of the day, like we're all here together. We might as well try and make the most of it. And I think that's kind of an interesting angle is like, at least someone might believe something completely different than me, but there's something that I can also agree upon with them. And yeah, I'm sure we'll talk about some of those things and some of the similarities, but yeah.
Yeah, that's a great point. And thanks for giving more of a segue for going into these religions. I think we should, I can talk about these religions at a high level.
Yeah.
And just get a flavor for how these religions approach things. And maybe we can, if I can able to, we maybe tie it together. We'll see how it goes.
We got this.
We got this. Okay.
It's going to be good.
So we can start with Buddhism. I think Buddhism is pretty understandable religion. It does not believe in gods. You can believe in no gods and be Buddhist. You can also believe in gods and be a Buddhist too.
Because Buddha was a prophet, right? He was considered a prophet?
Is Buddha a prophet? I actually don't know if he's considered a prophet exactly, but prophet-like at least. I don't know if he could like see in the future.
Yeah.
But he's respected like a prophet.
Okay.
But in Buddhism, the core aspects is removing suffering. It's basic. I mentioned that earlier. And what you do to reach nirvana is you extinguish the flame, essentially, which is interesting because you try to remove suffering in your life, and you also see life has suffering in general, where you achieve this peace.
Yeah.
So if I'm a really good Buddhist, I can connect with you and see your suffering, and I'd be like, okay, like, suffering in general is something we should avoid. And there's different things in Buddhism that they recognize. They call it the Eightfold Path, which is based off the Four Noble Truths. A lot of stuff. We don't need to go through all this, but I'm going to give you a little taste.
I remember, so I think I told you I took a world religion class, and I remember learning about those two things, the Four Noble Truths and then the eight something path. I can't remember what you said.
Eightfold Path.
Eightfold Path, yeah. So yeah, I mean, let's talk a little bit about what they believe and that kind of thing.
Yeah. So the Eightfold Path is really developing yourself to have these pieces, and this is going to sound pretty basic, but Eightfold Path is right understanding, right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. And this is based off the Four Noble Truths. Is that all beings experience suffering. The cause of suffering is craving and fundamental ignorance. That's 2. 3 is the cessation of suffering comes with the cessation of craving, and the path, which is the method we must follow to end suffering, is that of the noble eightfold path.
Yeah.
So this is practiced through karma. Karma has either good skill or bad skill, and when you have good skill, you're going around the eightfold path. You're speaking the right things. You're thinking the right things, and by doing this, you'll eventually reach a place where you can be more susceptible to nirvana and cease suffering. So that's a taste of Buddhism.
Yeah.
And it's very getting rid of the self. So getting rid of self, getting rid of suffering, because the self is what suffers. And I can extinguish the flame of suffering and get in touch with those around me and in the world.
That's interesting. Yeah, don't they do like fast? They fast for weeks, don't they? Or is that the Buddhist monks?
Yeah, the Buddhists. So there's different types of Buddhism. People do focus on different ways, and monks do have a more extreme practice of, hey, I'm gonna fast. I'm gonna try to
like isolation. I know they do that.
Isolate, and they're just trying to diminish the self.
Yeah,
try to get rid of that and reach nirvana, which is the ultimate goal, which is getting rid of samsara, which is the cycle of rebirth and stuff. So rebirth, we can go into that later if we have time, but that is essentially Buddhism in a nutshell. I'm not a Buddhist, so yeah, but that's pretty much what it is.
Yeah,
it's really good. If you're a really good Buddhist, you're a really awesome person. And then Hinduism is really awesome too.
And see, this is the one I'm excited about because this is the one I know least about. So,
okay, so
I'm ready, Jared.
You're ready for this? Okay, so Hinduism also believes in karma, and karma also has skill. This is around a different practice called yoga, and you might think of yoga people,
stretching and doing the exercises,
downward dog and stuff.
That's what I was thinking immediately.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and that's called Hatha Yoga, which is part of Raja Yoga. Raja Yoga is one of the 4 yogas. But these different yogas are different paths people can take to become one. So it's it's like the flip of Buddhism, but very similar to Buddhism. So Buddhism will take the concept of life and everything and cease suffering, and Hinduism will flip it and say, okay, like I'm going to become part of the ocean. I'm going to drop in the ocean. I'm going to try to become one of life and create life.
Interesting.
So they operate on the 4 paths of yoga, and that also leads to what's called dharma. And dharma is both a list of kind of commandments, I guess you can say, if you're Christian.
Yeah.
But it also gives you room to be intuitive and learn what's good and wrong, good and bad, and live your life that way. And also believes in rebirth. And when you practice better, you can have a better rebirth. And when you practice bad, you become like, a squirrel, or a dirty animal, or something less worthy in life.
I mean, I'll be honest. I kind of think it'd be cool to be a squirrel.
You're fast and stuff.
Yeah, you fast, jump from trees, whatever.
You can find nuts and stuff.
So interesting. So based on your actions, like you can come back as a lion if you're a good person, maybe, or if you're a bad person, then I'm going to be a rat in New York City.
Yeah, I don't know how they have lions, but yeah, the rat in New York City could definitely be like, okay, you practice
You're a bad
poorly.
person. Yeah.
So, yeah. And then for them, it's not nirvana, it's moksha. And with moksha, you achieved Atman, which means you're with one. You reach reality, and it's interesting because you become a part of reality, and you also feel for everything. If you ever listen to a Hindu leader, they sound so beautiful when you talk to them, just super mesmerizing, and like we live on this planet, and like this ball of dust in the sky, and like I don't know, they can talk way more beautifully than I can. But
it's very poetic and
super poetic. It's very beautiful, very peaceful, very joyful, and also ceasing suffering too. So there's a lot of talk about these religions. I'm like breezing through them super fast, so I'm not giving them full justice. Like you mentioned, the Buddhists, they will fast and they will abstain for things. So they also believe like greed causes suffering, and different types of appetite, like what we talked about earlier, are main causes for suffering.
Yeah.
So that's why they abstain from so much stuff, or like they try to fast or remove themselves because they want to diminish the suffering that they feel in life.
Yeah.
So they live very minimalistically, Buddhists do. Yeah.
I think that's pretty true though. Like, I mean, greed causes suffering, like all those things that you mentioned, the desires. they cause suffering because in a sense, it's like those have control over your actions. Is if you're a greedy person, then you're going to find out how you can make money all the time. And that's probably going to look like long hours, lots of headaches, lots of challenges along the way, which at the end of the day, the only thing you're getting is some money. So you're sacrificing all your time and spending your efforts doing things that might not be helping your heart at all, but could be helping, your actual materialistic wealth. And I think that's a great thing that like I was saying in the beginning, like we can all relate to these kind of things because like greed we can all, I think, agree that that's a bad thing. Like being a greedy person is not necessarily great, but, and controlling the desires. Like it's funny because when I always talk about Fat Brett on this podcast, I used to be a fat little kid, but the desires of the back then were like, I'm just going to eat all this food because it's delicious. And I didn't know at the time, but I gained some weight and I was bad at sports after that. And like all these things happened, but like that is suffering and my body was suffering because it was getting terrible things. And I think it's just interesting. Sorry to cut you off there, but yeah, I think it's like, there's a lot of tie-ins that we can make just as people with these religions. So
yeah, they are very similar to each other in many different aspects. And we'll tie it back. We'll tie it back pretty soon. I want to pull up an example that I think is really interesting. And I love how you talked about, greed is, pretty bad. And it's like, it's an over appetite of the belly. You don't want to make that greater than what your heart can offer you. Like you don't want to have your stomach serving, or you want to have your stomach serving your heart instead of your mind serving your stomach. Because that's really where life is, your passions. I think a really interesting example, and this is from the New Testament. So this is not super biased, but this is just an example that I think is really interesting for people who are Christian and all people who are not Christians. When Jesus was, when he was going up with the cross to die for everybody, I thought there's a really interesting verse that he refused to have wine and myrrh and carry the full pain to then get lifted up. He was offered that on the way, which is pretty much a painkiller. Say, hey, please take this painkiller. And he's like, no, I'm going to experience this pain, and carried it up, which is such a small piece, but it was such a powerful verse. This is Luke 23, where I'm like, wow, like so many times in our lives, we feel like we have to avoid pain.
Right.
But when you really want to suffer and really feel it, you really have passion. You really are going to go through it and take it to that level of, I'm going to go through whatever it takes to get there. And Christ, of course, if you're Christian, it's really, really strong. He has a very strong heart, obviously, especially when we're talking about two Christians here. For that pure love of people, dying for everybody.
It's insane. It's amazing.
For all the sins, which translates really well for practically all the religions, even though like if you're Islam, you don't think Christ is all that, but like you believe in Christ. But what really is interesting here is when you're looking at the heart and think of like the greatest heart, there's, in my mind, there aren't that many examples that compare to Christ, or if any at all.
It's a very, very small list.
Very small list, if any.
If any. Like,
So we're talking about going past all suffering, which Buddhism is like, okay, that's our main goal, is to see suffering, to remove the self. Who did that better than Christ? For reaching moksha and being one with the life and what's most important in life, who died for life, for all lives. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory for people. But there's so much power in that, and how he went so deep into walking through the pain purposely to do it. I think there's something to be said there.
That's amazing. It's like, I mean, when we talk about Christianity, we all believe that Christ suffered for all of us, experiencing everything that we've experienced. And so, if he was to take the wine in the mirror, he wouldn't experience it to the degree that I think we would need to feel that connection with him. That's my take on it, but that's interesting. I think that's a really cool story. I don't think I've heard that in the Bible before or noticed it. Maybe I just didn't notice it, but
it goes by super fast.
Yeah.
Just one verse and that's it.
That's so cool though.
Yeah, for sure. So like when you see people run, it's like, I like your example of running for other people. It's like you're running through with pain. I mean, if you did that with like, I don't know, in a car, I'm going to drive a mile for this person. It's like, it's not the same thing, right?
The same. Yeah. I mean, my most recent race that I did for someone was, we do Team Tim every year for my father-in-law who passed away from cancer. But last year in July, I ran my first 50K, which is 31 miles. In the desert of Arizona, and I was doing it for my friend Jordan at the time, and I almost quit at mile 15 because I was throwing up every quarter mile. It was a rough thing, because I trained in Utah, not as hot as Arizona, so I go down there and I think I just had heat exhaustion or a heat stroke or something. But at mile 15, it was a loop, and that's like halfway. So I got back to the aid station. I was sitting there with my family and stuff, and they're all like, we won't be disappointed if you pull out of the race. Like, it's totally okay. You're throwing up. Like, you're not ready for this. And then I don't know what it was, but I just kept thinking of Jordan. He had stage 4 colon cancer at the time. Oh. I was like, he's going through pain that I can't even comprehend. Yeah. And I said I was going to do this for him. Like, I'm going to have to suffer just a few more hours just to show this guy that, hey, I love you enough to suffer for you. And it just, I don't know, helps you stop thinking about yourself, and you find that strength to just keep going. It's an interesting thing, but yeah, I think running for someone else and running for a purpose, and I think for me, it's just like, hey, I'm willing to suffer with you. Like, I know life is pretty bad right now. You're going through it, but I love you enough to do what I can to show you I'm suffering with you. So.
Yeah, that's a great example of having heart, guys.
I mean, I wouldn't say, I'm to be put on a pedestal or anything, because definitely not. I make my own mistakes and stuff, but I don't know. It's just little things, going back to Hinduism, we're all here together. Why not try and make the most of it and try and support each other through their own trials? So, yeah, I mean, I think it's just a good thing. And I think it's good for me to not think about myself all the time. I think it's good for most people, but just gets you in a different perspective.
Yeah. And I think that's super, super strong, for you to experience that. And a lot of people in life, they need to take those opportunities. Yeah. They need to exercise their hearts. It can be, running. That's one example. That's not going to be an example for me because I don't really run far.
That's okay.
But if you're going to test your heart, I think it's maybe you need to get out of your comfort zone and forgive somebody that wronged you. It's super basic. Maybe you need to.
But that's hard to do sometimes.
Oh yeah,
forgiveness is a hard thing.
Oh, super hard. Yeah. You just got to realize, hey, there's something greater here, and go after it. There's many different examples. Another thing I wanted to pull up is how the heart can show a path. And this is something that is kind of what's that called? It's compounding. So it compounds.
Okay.
So if we have a good example of someone doing something good, we can see wow, that person is able to go through that type of pain and make that type of sacrifice. Why? We watch these movies of different heroes. We're watching Frodo take the ring to Mordor. Yeah. And we're watching,
Captain America's saving. I just watched The Winter Soldier yesterday when I was at the gym. So, he's saving the world. Yeah. That kind of stuff.
Saving the world. The hero's journey is beautiful.
It is so good. I love the hero's journey.
It's so great, right?
So good.
Yeah, we see it a lot, but it never gets old, unless it's the exact same story over and over again. But it's usually not.
Yeah, Marvel's kind of had their time, but then there's Rocky. We got Rocky.
Yeah, Rocky
great
too.
Hero.
Yeah, we got Fast and Furious too, which kind of has ups and downs.
When they go to space, that's my favorite one.
I actually haven't seen that one. I heard about it, but yeah.
They become more and more insane as time goes on, and that's why I love it. They're just unbelievable.
That's great.
But anyways, yeah, Fast and Furious is another episode. We'll go there later.
Yeah. So when you have a super weak heart, it's super hard to inspire people. They think that you're fake or you don't have a strong purpose. They can see it in your voice. They can see it in like how you act. But when you're able to suffer, and you suffer greatly for something, you bring a different type of leadership. You bring a different type of force in the world that people can recognize and say, hey, that guy lives for something. Maybe I can live for something as well.
Yeah.
So you have great examples in religion. You have great examples in life, like heroes in World War II. Gods in religion, different types of suffering, that really they open their hearts for us to open our hearts. So that's how you get inspired by these different things.
Yeah.
So it's extremely powerful when you have, obviously, a super potent heart where, hey, I can overcome everything. My appetite is not going to slow me down.
Yeah.
I'm not going to let anything. This is like David Goggins stuff.
Yeah,
right here.
this is Goggins coming out.
This is Goggins coming out. I'm going to run that. I'm not going to swear here, but
carry the boats.
Carry the boats.
Yeah.
And you get inspired by that. People get inspired by Goggins. I got inspired by Goggins. I'm sure you have too.
Oh yeah. I mean, like, I'll play some of those things in my head all the time. Like when I'm feeling sorry for myself or something like that, I'm just like, you know what? He always talks about how. And of course, I will say he's a little on the more crazy side of things. Like his life is suffering. Like that's all he does. But he does have some great points. Like one thing that he says that I love is when you go to war with yourself, you will find peace. And I think that's true. Like when you're trying to understand yourself, understand your values. And when I've been running in the mountains or something, and I feel like I'm gonna die, like you learn a lot about yourself. Are you able to keep going? Can you keep pushing like forward? And do you have what it takes? Is your heart strong enough to do that? Because a lot of the times when you run, your mind quits before your body does. But if you have a desire to keep going and that's strong, it's like when I was in the desert running for Jordan, I was like, hey, I'm gonna keep going. Like there's no decision to be made here. So yeah, I think it's interesting. Like his whole thing is, he suffers to learn about himself and to understand his own mind and become, he tries to say, the hardest blank word in the world. So, yeah, I think it's interesting. But Goggins is someone who suffers and inspires other people, like you said.
Yeah. I think it's a good example of, hey, like I got a lot of heart, I'm going to go push through. And there's different flavors of things that really will drive you and give you that belief and truth in life. So people get inspired by different things. Yeah. Like, hey, I got inspired by Goggins. I got inspired by this influencer. I got inspired by this TikTok video. It could be anything.
Yeah.
This is where an area of finding truth in life is really important. And this is something we talk about for a good amount of time, but I don't know if I want to get so nerdy here on this podcast.
Yeah, we can get as nerdy as we want. This is the Getting After It show. There's no rules.
Getting After It. Okay, we get after it until we're done.
No rules.
Yeah. So there are different types of things that people get wrapped in. So you can definitely have a heart and say, hey, like I'm going to go do this thing and be misguided. I'm sure, it's hard to say like, hey, every Nazi that committed a terrible act, they are 100% going straight to hell.
Yeah.
We want to think that, but what if you were in their shoes? Like what if you thought you were doing the best you could and like this is like, yeah, this is what truth is, and they don't know any better. Some young kids were caught up in that, like 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds, like they don't know.
Hitler's Youth.
Yeah.
There's like a whole program for it.
Exactly. So it's hard to cast and judge people so harshly. Of course, I'm definitely getting against the Holocaust and Nazism.
Yeah.
Like, no doubt.
Nazis are not great people.
Not
We'll make
great
that very
stuff.
clear.
There's some people for sure going to hell. Like, for sure,
Yeah.
some people are going to hell. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But people can be misguided in life and go down different routes and have passion and fall and try to get back up. You know, people don't walk in a straight line.
Yeah.
I don't think you have or I have. I don't think anyone has.
Yeah,
It's impossible. So finding the core pieces in life of what really is going to make you run, what's really going to make you go, is a huge, huge question. I actually asked. This is funny. I did ask Neil deGrasse Tyson one question.
You got to talk to him?
I got to ask him one question.
Okay. All right.
I asked him, Neil, what is the most important question in the world? And it's pretty basic.
Yeah. What did he say? I'm interested.
He said he looked up in the sky or the ceiling for like 2 seconds, and he's like, "What is my purpose?" Super basic.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, that's true. But really, what brings you joy is the ultimate thing of what should drive your heart.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty basic, but that is the guiding force for your happiness. That's going to make you run. It's going to make you love your wife or your husband. That's going to make you go to the nth degree, forget about your stomach, forget about your belly, live with your heart, and go forward.
Yeah.
And what brings you joy is such an elusive question. Like, how, you know, if I eat this Carl's Jr. burger, am I going to be joy? You know, I'm going to have that, you know, who knows?
You might in the moment.
I might in the moment, you know, maybe, yeah, who knows?
Yeah.
Or is there a higher way of living? And I do think it takes exercise to build that muscle. I don't think as babies are fully there. You have to mature. You have to develop your chest. You have to be able to run. You have to be able to be a leader for others and for yourself.
Right.
And developing that in the lens of different religions is very interesting. And also being an agnostic / atheist is also interesting too. When you're looking at agnosticism and atheism, it's interesting because joy, what brings them joy, is essentially what I would believe and what you'd believe. But what they imagine, what I study, because I've spent hours listening to them and I love listening to them, is a rational thought, and this you can still feel good. I don't want to talk about like those people.
Yeah.
Because I think atheism and agnosticism is the easiest to understand of all the religions, from the aspect of just naturally just living.
Yeah. It's very logical.
It's logical, extremely logical. If you're like the cosmic skeptic, you're super logical. You can think through things. You can be very humanistic. He's also against suffering too. He talks about that. He's like, I hate how they're suffering, and that's actually one of the reasons why he doesn't believe in God, which is interesting. Yeah, when you think of, hey, like, what am I going to have that brings joy in life? I think that's harder to define when you're agnostic or atheist, because the moral standard is more developed into like what current society is. Like in history, you know, maybe burning a witch was like, oh yeah, like that seems like a good idea.
Right.
Like in medieval times.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. This is a witch. You burn them, of course.
Yeah.
You know?
They're evil.
They're evil. Like, yeah, you know, like weigh them against a duck, Monty Python or something.
Yeah, Monty Python. That's exactly what I was thinking. They should float.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So, you know, of course we have technology, we get smarter or whatever. Is that really like the path of joy? You know, are people 1,000 years earlier less joyful than they are now?
Yeah.
It gets really hairy when in the lens of agnosticism and atheism. It's more natural living, more like, hey, I'm just gonna like live my life, and that's fine to that extent. But is there a definition of joy? You know, what is joy? And I think it's hard for people to define in general, but I think it's even harder to define if you're agnostic or atheist. That's just my own opinion. I'm sure some of them have, hey, this is what it is, but it's hard to like define that, saying, okay, this is the pure thing in my life that will bring me that joy.
Yeah.
when you look at the other religions, it's like, this is what brings you joy.
Yeah.
Moksha, nirvana, paradise in Islam. Paradise is the heaven. They got another word for it. I can't think of it at the top of my head, but that's what they call heaven. And then you have eternal life and Christianity.
Exaltation.
Exaltation. Yeah. And how to get there, they're pretty defined paths. Like we talked about Buddhism and Hinduism. Also in Islam and Christianity, they're pretty similar. Getting rid of sins and living a righteous life in Islam and Christianity. Have posterity, live with family, be honest. All these religions teach. Okay, I guess Buddhism doesn't really teach families, but they teach the principles of being a good person.
Yeah.
And these are the fundamental morals of having joy. And morality is an interesting topic where, okay, morality, there's good and evil. And I think people have to accept that. If you don't accept that, then it's kind of weird. Just like, okay, like if you shoot yourself in your foot with a gun, is that bad or good? Yeah, that's bad.
It's pretty bad.
It's pretty bad. It's pretty painful.
You got some issues going on. You got some issues. Shooting yourself in the foot.
Yeah. It's like, okay, there's good and bad in life, right? There are things in life where you can start finding a path that, hey, maybe you should look into these. And that's kind of why I like to look in different religions, is because, hey, like there's some things that people will go on their knees for. They live every day thinking about these things. How do they have joy in life?
Yeah.
And I think it's something that people should try to find and focus on and get after it.
Yeah, get after it. That's right.
Yeah.
Have you noticed any commonalities between them with joy? Besides like the things that you talked about, I guess, you kind of mentioned them.
Yeah. No, a big thing I haven't mentioned yet is the concept in Christianity is repentance. And I guess I think it's the same in Islam. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. It's the same thing. They believe in sins as well. And Hinduism and Buddhism believe in it, refining your intentions and removing suffering. And that concept of repentance across the board and refining yourself is very universal.
Yeah.
Extremely universal. It's a huge practice of, hey, I'm going to get rid of the bad and take in the good.
Yeah.
Become a better person. That is so similar across the board. It's crazy.
I mean, that's one thing you talked about with like the different paths everyone is on, that they're not going to be straight. Like you'll probably have times where you're doing really good and then, you mess up and boom, it's like another dip and then you're kind of making your way out. But it's those times when you are doing well, but then you fall into that dip. That's when you learn the lesson and you're like, well, I think I need to change some things about myself because that didn't feel good and I'm not feeling great about myself. So I'm going to repent and get better and, get back after it. Like try and do what I can to be a better person and influence society in a better way. And then you'll do good again. And then boom, it's just like, it's a roller coaster, but as long as you're continually going up, or the stock market might be a better example. You'll have times where you're, going up and down, and then eventually, hopefully, it ends as a gain. Yeah. I think it's interesting because everyone's path is different, and it's going to be messy. Like you're going to mess up in your life. You're going to do dumb things that you wish you didn't. You're going to regret them, and that's okay. That's part of being a human being. And it's trying to understand these morals and these principles and things like repentance that, teach you that you're not as bad as you think you are, and that we're all in this together, and we can have, joy and happiness as long as we're living, in line with like the things that we believe, I guess. So.
Yeah, totally. Shedding the things that are slowing you down, going up, it can be hard, but it's part of the process of developing joy, developing your morality, developing, better world, everything all together, good and evil, and developing your heart and your chest. So I think it's critical, just to like kind of wrap it up a little bit on my side of, hey, it's super important to recognize your chest as something real.
Yeah.
To have passion, be willing to suffer for something. And that thing to suffer for should bring you joy. It's not just getting rid of suffering, but you want to chase after something that's going to really bring you that joy. and defining what the joy is in your life and finding that path. It will give you that purpose. It will give you the fire. It will make you live more. It'll allow you to get past your belly and your appetite.
Yeah.
Allow you to share awesome experiences with people. It'll get you beyond just pleasuring yourself in different ways. That's not super sexual, but like, you know, it's like,
Yeah. I mean, hey, some of the desires might lead to that, so be careful.
Could lead to that, but like, luxury vacations. I mean, this can be nice, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like, hey, you watch TV, just like totally just riff on like physical enjoyment, which we do need to like balance ourselves, and you can't just like burn yourself out and go crazy, but to really align your life to a greater purpose. And who would not want to align their purpose with joy?
Yeah,
of course. Who would not want to do that? Who would not want to have the heart to go further and say, hey, like, I'm going to do this thing for other people and for myself. And I stand for this, and it's like something where I can live a full life that, looking behind, hey, these are not wasted years. I really was able to enjoy these things. I harbored these values in my life. I got to share these experiences, this love and this path. And that's pretty much it. Yeah. It's pretty much, that's in a nutshell. We can talk about these topics in more detail for sure, but that's kind of the whole deal.
I love it, man. It's so good. Like, it's super interesting when we talk about suffering and things, because, another running analogy. I tell my wife this all the time and she gets mad, but it's the best metaphor for life. I think when people say the runner's high, typically they're referring to when they're done with their run and they feel all these endorphins running through their body and they're feeling super good, but it's because they suffered. Like, they had time where they were doing something difficult. And you could say the same thing about lifting weights, doing a sport, even writing. Like, writing is hard, but I love to write. And every time I sit down and I do an entry and then like go back and look at it, I'm always like, hey, well, that was worth it, because now I have my thoughts out and I feel like it helped me understand my thinking and get clear about it and get some clarity there. But it is interesting. Like, it's funny because I know I might get questions of like, this doesn't really seem like a getting after a topic, but I would argue that it very much is, because with religion, it requires two things I talk about all the time. And it's discipline and consistency. Like, you have to be disciplined enough to look for other people to help, or try and look outside yourself and relinquish the suffering you face. And, if greed is your temptation, then you have to be disciplined enough to not act on it. And then you have to be consistent in practicing these virtues and trying to live your life in line with whatever you believe. And for me, that's, following Christ and trying to be better every single day, repent consistently, try and stay on top of like understanding the Gospels and spending time reading those scriptures so I can get a better understanding of the religion and apply those lessons to my life. And like, discipline and consistency, I talk about getting after it in all ways, but in religion, I would say that might be one of the most difficult, is being disciplined with religion. Because I don't know if you've seen this before, but like, I have a lot of friends I grew up with that I went to church with, and we were all good friends, and have just started abandoning their morals and trying to live a life that they want to. Because I think from our conversation today, like, maybe they thought joy was going to come from somewhere else. Yeah. They wanted to feed the desires of their stomachs and the appetites that they had, instead of look inward and say, I think I just need to do some work on myself first. And I think there might be something I'm missing that could lead me to joy. Because I mean, living a Christian life, or, a Buddhist life, any of the religions we've talked about today, it does require commitment. And like, hopefully that stirs a passion within you to say like, oh yeah, there are other people out there that, I can get along with. I love the fact that you're out there like studying different religions, because you just want to understand what they believe and recognize like what similarities we all have together.
Yeah, that's something I want to say. Yeah. People are very similar to each other. Yeah. They're not so weird. People are very similar.
Absolutely. It's so cool. Like, and yeah, I mean, you can get along with anybody, I think, unless they're people like the Nazis. Don't get along with those people. But you know, you can get along with anyone and relate to them in some capacity because we all sort of believe the same things.
100%.
So
It's so true. Yeah. Like people don't like, walking on Legos,
Yeah.
it's not good.
everyone hates that.
Everyone
knows that feeling. It's
Everyone
horrible.
knows that feeling. Yeah.
It's the worst.
It's the worst. And, people like to have, friends and family, there's commonalities across pretty much everybody, know. Of course, there's some outliers. You can say, hey, like, what about those people? Yeah, they're very, very outliers.
Yeah.
I'm talking about 99.9999% of the people that share very common feelings.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we're all humans. We all connect on that piece.
Yeah.
But I do want to ask, are there things that you do to help you, like to help feed the heart in your life? Are there any things that you consistently do?
Yeah. I think an area that is really important for feeding the heart is harboring those values and those things that bring you joy. So say that you have different feelings in your life. Maybe it's with your family in some sense, or your friends, and you're like, hey, like I really enjoy like complimenting people, or you really enjoy loving this person if it's more intimate. I'm not trying to sound like sexual on this.
No, you're good.
Okay, but
intimate has.
Maybe it is. I don't know, but just moments that really lead to a happy spot of hey, like these things are okay. I could get into my own philosophy, but going this side right now. Should we go into my own philosophy a little bit?
You don't have to. You don't have to say it.
I can say it. I can say it. It's. I'm kind of sputtering on my own philosophy, and this is something that's like, I think Hinduism goes pretty well with this. Hinduism doesn't have as much closure as I'd like at the end of the religion compared to like Christianity does.
Yeah.
But to me, things that bring more life, things that you can see like, hey, that brings more peace, more goodness, more of a result, are things that I like to harbor and build those values and exercise my heart on.
Yeah.
And that's pretty basic. And I think that you can resonate with that too. Like you probably have those things as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when you think of those things like, hey, like, even exercise is good. Maybe I think of a relationship that's hard in my life where I'm like, hey, like maybe I just need to like just have that branch revived in my life and just, hey, like I'm going to talk to that person. I'm going to make sure that they know I at least care and respect them as a person. And that's like a part that I'm like, wow, like that person could be going through some emotional stuff and they could be wavery, whatever. And I've been able to reestablish that connection because I know like nobody's perfect. We all fall. So there's multiple aspects. How do I feed the heart? I think you exercise it and think upon those things that your heart strives for and works for. What things that bring you joy, things that bring you a greater life, brings you more life.
Yeah.
It can be your career to an extent. If you're not too careerism, it can be your spouse. It can be learning about something that gives you peace.
Yeah.
Those things can bring you more life in your life. So that's kind of like my philosophy.
I think it's beautiful. Like that really is beautiful. It's like, what can I do to just feel more of the things that I enjoy? Like have my life more enriched through, if it is mending a relationship with someone who's either wronged you in the past or whatever happened there, or like with me, like I love spending time with my wife. She's like my best friend. And that brings me a lot of joy. And like it's interesting because we're doing distance right now because sometimes she'll go to Arizona to fly and then she'll come back. But it's like weird schedule. So on the weekends, she's usually down there. But it's like those times I'm like, oh, I understand what I don't have when she's not here. And I want to be around her all the time because she brings me joy. And then like my family, it's the same thing. And one thing that I love that I know a lot of those religions practice with Buddhism and I think Hinduism specifically is meditation. Like meditation just helps me.
Yeah, both of them for sure.
Yeah, it's just like getting clear with my thoughts and understand what is bothering me right now, if anything. Like if I'm feeling frustrated, like, okay, well, what's the root cause of that? Like how can I mend that internally first? And then also just like praying, like talking to God and expressing the desires of my heart. Like those things are daily actions that I do that help me feel a little bit more closer to, a God and to other people and, better, like I have a better relationship with myself because of it, I think too, because I'm not so, angry at myself or like I don't beat myself up as much as I used to, because I used to have terrible self-talk, until I understood like, I had a perspective change where I was like, Christ wouldn't want me to talk about myself this way. So why am I? And, it's interesting. It's like healed my relationship with myself and also helped me try and give more to others. So it's pretty amazing what happens when you practice these principles.
Yeah. I mean, I like your example of self-talk. Like if you have negative self-talk, you're clouding your life, especially at that moment.
Yeah.
Where you can't even see the life around you in your own life, your own path.
Yeah.
You can't see the path of others. Like, when you have those good feelings of like, especially if you have God's perspective, good for you. Like if you have that, now like, okay, that's like when you think of the gods of these different religions, it's the God of Abraham for both Islam and Christianity, the same. And then you have various gods in Hinduism and no gods in Buddhism. But when you think of these main gods, they all are life-bringing and want like the best for you, a greater life, and practicing that and wrestling with that perspective is very interesting. The eternal perspective, if you're a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints,
yeah, exactly.
But I mean, if you could develop that, wow, like now you start thinking, okay, the sociality that we live in now exists beyond the grave.
Yeah,
like okay, friends, family, whatever. That's going to exist beyond the grave. If you're a church of the member of Jesus Christ, Latter-day Saints, you believe that. So how do you have like sustaining life? Hey, like I'm going to get beyond this self-talk. Like that's just a moment, a blink of time. It's like if you have that perspective, great. I know I'm not preaching. I might sound like a cult leader here, but like
no, this is great. I love it. Like it really is like important, and it does take a lot of time to develop like that perspective. And I'm by no means perfect. Just in that sense, like. I think with the self-talk thing, I tried picturing myself as a dad. And like if my kid came to me and was like, Dad, I'm so fat. Like I'm a loser. Like I hate myself. I'd be like, what? Like why? Why are you talking about yourself that way? Like I love you. Stop.
Yeah.
And I feel like God would do the same thing.
Yeah.
And it is really just trying to have like that celestial perspective of, I know my actions here are going to lead to that next life. And it's the same thing with like, rebirth. We were talking about the rat. I can't remember what that term is called.
Samsara.
Yeah, samsara. Okay. But like things like that, like we believe in an afterlife and we believe that there's something coming if we live righteously and like in the way that we should, while helping our brothers and sisters along the way. But I think, it's tough to have that kind of perspective, but I think through meditation, through praying, and through practicing the principles, and actually being, an active member of whatever faith or religion you believe, that teaches you those things, and it helps you build the heart at the end of the day. Like you want to have that desire and that passion to serve other people, and that only comes from my experience through actually doing it and finding ways to implement it into your life.
Yeah. And I do want to mention that I know we talked about this earlier. I do want to mention that if you are a really good Buddhist, a really good Hindu, a really good Muslim, really good Christian, like across the board there, the hearts of those people are so strong.
Yeah, absolutely.
Incredibly strong. Like you go talk to a really strong Hindu practitioner, like they are going to be so loving and like caring, and you'll feel it. It'll cut through you.
Yeah.
It's not like, hey, like, okay, I want to tie in some agnostic atheist people. I feel like I'm leaving them out.
Yeah, yeah, you can do that.
But like, yeah, you can also be a really loving person if you're obviously atheist or agnostic, because you can have the familial bond. You can have the part where I'm a humanist. I really care about people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not. Love is not like restricted to Christianity. It's not even further restricted to being a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It is a universal thing that exists that anyone can have, and you can see with everybody. And I thought it'd be funny if I did mention this. I mean, there's some terrible like members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Yeah, that's true. Like, I'll say the TV show, The Mormon Wives.
Oh yeah,
they're not members.
I'll
call them out.
Yeah, I know people personally that I'd say like, yeah, they're not great people. I can't fully judge them, but like they're like, wow, like you're a total like, I don't know, just they hurt people.
Yeah,
they hurt people, and they go to church and like have this facade, and you can totally be anything else besides that. You could be a Scientologist and have it be a better person than some of the people I believe are in that category.
I mean, absolutely. Like there's going to be people who are, like you said, like when we were talking about at the beginning, like if they don't have their heart bought in, if they don't have that piece, you can tell that it's fake. And when it's sad because in religion that does happen. Like there are people who I know in my own religion that's like, do you actually believe these things? Like you say you do, but your actions speak nothing of that.
Yeah.
So I think there's good and bad people in every religion, but like I have met some Muslims who are just like the most down to earth people I've ever met in my life. But I'm sure there's also some bad ones. Like it goes the same both ways. Like there's always going to be good and bad people and different levels of people being bought into the principles and the religions. And I think it's just interesting.
Yeah, for sure. The thing is that reality exists.
Yeah.
We live in a reality, and people argue it's subjective, but when we go back to the Abolition of Man, which C.S. Lewis wrote, and Tate Miller, by the way, suggested this book for me to read, and this is
really,
yeah. Tate Miller loves this stuff.
All right, I'll check it out.
Yeah, the Abolition of Man. We live in a reality, and it's hard to argue that hey, this is subjective versus objective. We're sitting in these chairs, like we're talking to each other. It's pretty objective. The correlation of what people see is extremely objective. So developing and living a joyful life can come from so many different angles. And the path to get there, like you talked about, it has its ups and downs.
Yeah.
And there's some different ways of like, hey, like maybe a certain path you want to take can lead you to greater joy. Of course, like you and I are going to be a little biased, but like, there are things that are a little bit more defined. Like I did study I read the Quran, I read the Bhagavad Gita, and those are beautiful books. Like I gave them 5 stars on Goodreads. Beautiful books.
Yeah,
like,
there
awesome.
you go.
Yeah, great books. But the clarity and the practice and putting your heart in it and observing life and things, it's like, okay, some things are a little more clear. And I'd say, the main thing I would ask people in general is just to practice their hearts, practice looking for joy, and not just like live off their stomachs, their appetites.
Yeah.
Life's greater than that. Life has things that are so great that the emotions just like burst out of you.
Yeah.
Instead of like, oh, I just got to like feel something. I got to get a different high. I got to get a different high, like whatever. Like,
yeah, you got to find your next kick, whatever it is.
Yeah, chasing highs all the time, getting a kick. So there's a different way of living, and I think that's a part where I say, hey, if you want to get after it in life, build that heart, build that drive, get after it, have the heart and soul to do those things and do things with that purpose. That's that next level. You'll not only feel so great for yourself, but you'll be a beacon for other people who are also like, oh wow, look at Brett, look at him go through this pain. Like, wow, that's so amazing. Like if they're watching you go through that and running for your friend who has cancer, it's like, wow, I know Brett's doing this. Like that's pretty strong. Like I think I can feel that.
Yeah.
And that's one example. There's multiple ways where you can really dive into this reality that we live in, and no matter what you believe in, you can still develop your heart to be something greater, something we all connect with, that emotion that we all connected with. Instead of we're talking appetites, we're chasing appetites, we make jokes of appetites. We're getting, very, when you hear comedians, they talk about appetites all the time. Like there's sex jokes all the time. There's like
pretty much what it is.
Drinking drink whatever. Or like, things that are naturally funny because it's like, okay, these weird things in reality, but there also can be like, if you're over in that area, it can be over distracting and less fulfilling, where it's like, hey, like that stuff's funny, but there's also funny things in like around the heart and like messing around there. There's not enough people focusing it. And that mindset of, hey, like, if we talk about heart and stuff, it comes into dark humor, which can be funny too, but you gotta be strong for that.
Yeah. My wife is the queen of dark humor.
Okay, great.
It's pretty funny. Like we always tell people to sign up for the race for my father-in-law, right?
Yeah.
And if they say no, she's like, "Oh, so you love cancer, huh?" And it's just like so good. Or like I'll make a joke and like. Yeah, I won't go into it, but she's good at it. Dark humor runs in the family.
It's hard to say dark humor just like everybody because like, oh yeah, I get it. But yeah, it's when you go around the heart, it can get there. It can be light too. You can be lighthearted about stuff, but the focus in society is so much around appetites and in that world. You want to be you want to be in the world, but not like so influenced by the world. The world will not give you that heart, that drive, the thing that gives you joy. Like people think it all the time. Yeah, it is. I'm going to go to New York City or whatever. I'm going to go.
I'm going to go to Vegas.
I'm going to try to like get the most statusy type things, the most expensive things. I'm going to experience these things, and I'm going to do all these things. It's like, are you really doing it for the reasons that bring you joy? Or are you doing those things because those are parts of your natural appetite of resources, of sustaining yourself in the animalistic kingdom type thing? Like if we're getting really like in that little like secular world type of aspect, and it gets pretty nihilistic if you get on that path. But you really want to, develop the heart and that to avoid those things. Like you want to be able to have a richer life, and there's more to life than experiencing like, oh, like there's this place in Maui that's got an awesome like hotel and stuff, and I can ride a surfboard. That's great, but like, is that better than having a family? Is it better than having someone who is experiencing something and they're crying on your shoulder because they trust you and you're there for them? Is it better than that? And there's some things that are very expensive in life, and leaving your heart behind is extremely expensive. And I know everyone will recognize the hearts inside themselves. They just need to, get after it a little bit more, maybe look a little deeper, be a little more introspective, maybe just practice those basic things. Maybe, it's not, I don't want to make it sound so obscure or so, what's it called? I forgot the word in the CIA. Oh my gosh. It's
in
like,
the CIA?
Yeah, it's a word for, I think it might start with an E. I think it's like something that's just like cloudy and like you can't see what it is. But the heart there are things that people know, what people can fight for, that are very basic things. They're simple things. They're very simple things in life. And once you start feeling those things, you can. This is going on way longer than I thought. Sorry.
No, this is great, dude. This
is
awesome.
Super introspective here, and I feel like I'm like a cult leader. Like,
no, this is good. Like, my question was actually going to be like, what would you suggest people do if they want to go on this journey of like developing their heart?
Yeah,
you're answering, so it's perfect.
Okay, yeah. So when you develop your heart, see, and like I've seen this myself, I've gone in a way that's like more extreme to just saying, hey, like, okay, like I'm going to be super skeptical. I'm going to be a very mindful thinker, very logistician. I can't say the word. And I'm going to think like almost like a straight, I don't know, almost robotic in a way. And I've been practicing that area, logic and a little bits and stuff. And you start to lose feeling a bit. And then when you go back and start exercising your heart, you'll start to feel things again. And that's something where you're like, oh, like, wow, that's a little different. Like I realize like, hey, I can make someone smile a little bit in that area, or I can see there's something a little off. Maybe I just need to say hi, or maybe I need to like, maybe I need myself. Maybe I need to like, maybe I just need to laugh a little bit about something right now. You start to feel things a little more naturally, and then you'll start to exercise. Oh, like now there's like different areas in life, and you start to feel more things in yourself and others, and just how life is, and you can keep going down the path. And people go down that path, and they're great. And some people go to extent and stop. Some people go back and forget about it. Yeah. People struggle with developing their hearts, and I think it's hard to do because you kind of have to be mindful of your heart. It's hard to be emotional and passionate about something and then let it fade away.
Yeah. Like, and it takes a lifetime of work.
Yeah. I think what you mentioned earlier, like discipline. Yeah. Like when you have discipline and dedicate yourself towards developing these things, like, okay, now you're championing like this light in your life. Yeah. You're championing this area, and you start building it. You start pounding it like boom, boom, boom. I mean, running example is so easy to talk about in this area. It's like, okay, like you are developing your heart, you're developing your muscle, you're doing it. You're going and going and going. And you know, that will take you places, and there's different roads, there's different aspects. Running's an easy analogy. But it's really just exercising, feeling. If you don't know what I'm talking about at all, and you're like, hey, what's the heart? What brings you joy? What brings you joy? Find those things, practice them, try to learn from books, learn from the best people you know. Yeah. Try to feel like, you know, this happy moments in your life and chase those things. It's not like one thing. It's like, you know, everyone's felt these things in their lives where hey, like I can start pulling these things. Okay, now I learned things. Like for me, like, oh, Jared's talking about this. He must think he's an expert at this. No, I'm not. Like I'm not like joyful like 24/7. I'm not. Yeah. I'm not.
Again, it goes back to the human experience. Like there's going to be ups and downs in everyone's life. Doesn't matter how good you are. Like life is going to test you. Yes. And for me, it's like religion and my faith has been like it's rooted me in those times. Like when I do struggle and I go through hard times, it's given me something to hope for and to recognize that, like with Christianity specifically, that like Christ has felt this before. He knows what I'm going through, and because of that, I can rely on Him to help me get through it. Because it's sometimes it's hard. Like life is not going to be joyful all the time. Like I was saying, like my wife is gone. Like it's kind of hard to have joy when like my best part of my day is not here, you know, and it's tough. But I think in those moments, like that's when you have to rely on the things that you've learned and exercise them, like trust that they work and keep moving forward. Yeah.
We're going pretty long. Should I do have one point that would be funny to bring up.
Let's hear it. Okay. Yeah, we got some time.
All right. Life is, this is super meta. We're getting super meta here. I'm continuing my cult sermon.
Just kidding. Yeah, we'll have to get you a robe after this. Just kidding.
No. I like my t-shirts and my 2 pairs of pants I wear every day.
I'm the same.
Um, one area that I love to bring up that's super fascinating, and this is just kind of a fun mental exercise, is thinking of the start of life. Like, we're sitting here with microphones, you know, people are listening on Spotify or whatever, YouTube, I don't know where. And how's this all happening? And you think like, okay, well, let's pull it back. Let's go all the way to like, you know, maybe Adam and Eve if you're Christian, or is Muslim, you believe in this Adam and Eve as well. Or, okay, what about further than that? There's like dinosaurs and stuff.
Yeah.
And let's go back further. You know, maybe there's like these little bacteria and stuff.
You got some amoebas. Yeah.
And then you go back even further. It's like, okay, well, what was there? A rock? Like,
yeah.
Matter?
And then the Big Bang? Like
the Big Bang? I mean, the sun? Like, where did this come from? Like, where did everything come from?
Right.
Like, if I put a piece of sand in the microwave for like 1,000,000 years, is that going to make a human? Like,
maybe, who knows?
yeah. It's
that would be amazing if that's how we learn it all happened. Is God's just like, I'm going to put this piece of sand in this microwave, and then boom, the universe. That was the Big Bang.
Yeah, or if I have 2 cars going like the speed of light against each other, is that going to make a human? You know, it's like, you know, the creation of DNA. Like that seems very godly in my opinion. Life, the whole creation of life, seems like it's created by God. How things are set up, how we're even talking to each other about this.
Yeah.
Like, if God didn't exist, like, well, like, why does everything exist?
Yeah. 100%.
And I think
there's a lot of science to back it, which I believe in. But for me, the more I learn about science, I'm like, there has to be a hand behind it.
Yeah.
Like, and so I don't know. Every time I learn about like evolution and learning about the stars, like when Neil deGrasse Tyson was talking at Accelerate, like I was like, it's just more evidence for me. Like, and I don't know if it's because of the things that I believe or like my mindset, or even if I'm looking at it wrong. Like, I think it's important to question yourself at times, but it's just, to me, it's very clear that there's a hand behind it. And our prophet Russell M. Nelson, well, I butchered that. He gave a quote one time where he talked about the human body, or a talk where he talked about the human body. And he says, you know, our eyes are auto-focusing lenses. Our hearts, you know, pump oxygen through our bodies at all times, and our lungs fill our blood with oxygen. And like, he talked about all the just minute mechanics of the human body, and like the brain is a computer, and like all these different things. And for me, I'm like, that might have happened through, you know, putting a piece of sand in the microwave and seeing what would go, but I don't think so. I don't believe that.
Yeah.
Personally, I don't believe that. I think, you know, God designed it to allow us to live life to the fullest and experience mortality. And he understood what needed to be done to make that happen. So I don't know. I think it's interesting. And you brought up the point of like, you know, trying to look at your viewpoints from different angles. And I think that's really important to do. I think you have to do that. Because one, I believe it strengthens your own beliefs if you come to the conclusion that after looking at it from different angles that it is true. And then two, just helps you continue living on those principles, because if they are true, why not live them? So yeah, I don't know, just where my thoughts were at when you went there, but
yeah,
it's super. I like that exercise though. That's cool. That is cool.
Yeah. It's I think it's a pretty strong argument for God. Like there is not a good scientific explanation for that right now.
Yeah.
Of how life started. I
heard this quote. Sorry to cut you off, but I heard this quote where it said, you know, religion has many miracles, but science only asks you to believe in one, and it's the Big Bang.
Oh, yeah.
But it's like there's miracles all around, and like we don't know how the Big Bang happened. So who's to say that God wasn't the one that initiated it? Yeah, I think it's interesting, but
yeah. I think it's a pretty good stretch. The Big Bang, like all science, it's pretty crazy in my opinion. But like people can try to like tie their head around that and say, yeah, we came from amoebas and stuff, and DNA and like evolution happened. Super hard to prove. You can't. That's why. Yeah. At least right now you can't.
I mean, I think evolution probably played a role, but like I think at the time, like maybe that's how God built us as humans. I don't know.
Yeah, evolution, you can look at it and say, hey, like there's aspects of that did exist, but all the way from amoebas, like, yeah, it's and even before that, the creation of everything, it's not something that's scientifically proven. It's not something that's like scientifically strongly believed in either. It's mostly unknown. But what I want to say around this whole thought exercise that's kind of fun and, you know, really super meta is the aspect of, hey, like if there is a purpose behind everything, if there is a hand, there's something created everything, there's joy to be found in all aspects of life. You know, there's a purpose for us maybe talking right now. Maybe there's a purpose for someone listening in this moment. Maybe there's a purpose for someone to like experience whatever's in their fridge. I have no idea. So
Yeah, you never know.
So there's definitely life in so many different things, and you can learn about, you know, plants and animals and stuff, and just things that, hey, like things are created a certain way, and like what pieces of nature are aspects of God, and it's a different lens. This is like a whole different topic. I don't even know why I'm like going so deep in this area.
Is great. No, it's awesome.
It's super meta. But yeah, you can go in that area and learn about things. Life. There's a lot of life around in this life. Obviously, it's kind of super basic for me to say that, but yeah, you can definitely just find happiness in living, and so many different aspects. One of my favorite books actually is Unbroken. Have you read that or watched
I haven't read it, but I know the story. I don't think I've even seen the movie though, but it's if you want to tell a little synopsis real quick.
Okay. Yeah. So really quick, this is a guy who was a airplane pilot. I think it was for not pilot. I think it was he was part of an airplane squad. I don't remember what he was. Maybe he was a pilot. Maybe he was part of like a loading crew for an airplane. That airplane crashed in Hawaii. He became a POW. I think that's why I read this book like when it first came out, like a year when it came out. It's been a while. He became a POW in Japan, and they teased him. They were brutal, and they made him run because he was also like an Olympian around and like race the guards and stuff. And they just were so mean, but he was able to find happiness. And I also love there's a couple other books about the Holocaust, the Man's Search for Meaning too.
That's a great one.
Very similar to
Frankl. Yeah,
similar flavor, different though. But finding the humanity and the purpose of living, and in such a tough circumstance where you're being belittled and bullied and people are suffering and dying around you, to find, hey, like, wow, like I may be changing something or changing myself or changing somebody else, the guard or the person. And he actually does make amends with the guard, which is really interesting. Really beautiful story. It's nonfiction, super beautiful. Yeah, in any circumstance, there's always more life to be had. And if you're facing such a hard circumstance, you can fight that, and there's a different way, different approach where you can overcome it. You know, even if it's as low as like, you know, I want to like do drugs. You know, it's super common. Like example, super common example. I'm not saying everyone does drugs.
Don't do drugs.
Don't do drugs. It's a common example, but like if you're doing drugs, it's like there's a way to fight that. If you're in isolation and you feel like, hey, like I feel like there's no meaning, you can find meaning. If you're feeling like, hey, like I am not good in my career, there's ways to learn. If you feel like, hey, I'm too slow, I'm too fat, whatever, like in your example, I guess.
Fat brat.
Fat brat. It's like you can fight that. You can be hard. Or if you're like dying, you can still maybe make someone smile, leave a note behind, make something stronger in those dire circumstances. Like there's always ways where you can look at darkness and there's a way of the reverse of light. Yeah.
That's beautiful, man. That's it's got me thinking a lot about my own beliefs and stuff. So I think, yeah, I mean, really appreciate all the time that you've taken to go into this outline, because I think it really helped the conversation and it helped me understand like perspective from different religions and how at the end of the day, it's just supposed to, help build and develop your passions and find what makes you happy. And, yeah, I mean, everyone's going to have different lives to live, but like you said, I think in any circumstance, it's just perspective, like trying to understand how you can make the most of something, how you can maybe laugh a little bit, like you said, or make someone smile and just do something small to impact someone else's day, or, make you have good feelings or whatever that looks like. But yeah, this has been awesome, man. This has been a really good one. It was one of my favorites just because it's been so interesting and fascinating to learn these things. So I really appreciate it.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on. If you didn't ask me about this, and I don't know if I'd ever go on a podcast and talk about this stuff. So,
dude, it's great. I mean, yeah, I think you should start a YouTube channel. Honestly,
no,
you got to do something because people would listen. I think it's great.
I don't know. Hopefully, I'm not too boring to everyone listening to this.
No, it'll find the audience. I mean, that's what I've learned is like, there's some people who come on, they talk about marathon running, and some people just tune out. But then, talking about faith and things that might be someone's thing, like that might be what they're interested in. That's why I think it's important to have different people on to share their perspectives and share what they're getting after. And yeah, you definitely are, like, by learning all these things, and like that's what getting after it is trying to develop yourself and learning and growing and sharing that with other people. And I really appreciate that you came on and shared some of this stuff with my audience, because there's always something to benefit from it. Like, I think we can all learn from these religions and take pieces from them, even if you're not religious, and just apply them to your life to be a better human. And yeah, it's been awesome, man.
Thanks for having me, man. It's been good.
Well, there we go. And you always have an invite to come back. I think this was great. So
awesome. Yeah.
First podcast, you killed it. So
first podcast. I'm gonna start a cult, guys. No, just kidding.
You heard it here first, guys. But yeah, everyone else, I really appreciate you for tuning in today. And as always, keep getting after it.